Chapter number 16. 1 Samuel chapter number 16. I don't know if any of you are enjoy watching boxing or UFC or any of those kind of fighting events. But when you watch those events, right, you're watching boxing, you're watching a boxing match. You watch two heavyweight guys, it can be a slow thing. You know, you got these big monster dudes up here, you know, a couple hundred pounds, and they'll sit there and they'll punch each other and they'll do that kind of thing. And you watch boxing in the Olympics. It's an entirely different sport. They get 3 rounds, a minute and a half or two minutes per round, and so they just wail on each other. And they're usually small, quick guys, and just, you know, that kind of thing. Well, then you turn on a UFC fight, a mixed martial arts fight, and it's an entirely different world. It's not, you know, standing there toe to toe and hitting each other. It all holds bar. You know, they're breaking arms and they're bending people, twisting people, choking people. Anything they can do in order to win an advantage over their opponent, they're going to do. I watched a mixed martial arts fight the other day between this 120-pound little guy versus a 400-pound like sumo wrestler, and it was all over the internet for a few days. The funniest little thing, because this little guy kept kicking him in the stomach, and the stomach would just kind of move. You know? You could tell the guy wasn't even feeling it. It's like a tickle to this guy, you know. But they were just going at it, and listen, in our lives, we're in a fight. You know, I mentioned that a little bit earlier. The Bible tells us to put on the armor of God. We're in a fight. We're not in a long boxing match. This is a backyard brawl. This is an MMA fight, because Satan won't hold any punches on you. He's not over here with kid gloves on. He's not using those soccer bop-em things, you know, you used to have your kid little gloves. I had a youth activity one time where I had some teenagers using those soccer bop-em things, and they were like beating each other. And it was fun. We had the junior high boys doing it, and then we had some junior high girls doing it, and then we had 2 senior high boys go. And I was sitting there going, well, this will be good. I got 2 cousins. And they got these cousins to go against each other. And they were kind of hitting each other, and they were hitting pretty hard. And I was like, man, that's gotta leave a mark here in a minute. They were hitting each other. Well, then I took the gloves off, and I said, do I have any senior high girls who want to go? I had these 2 sisters who are twins, and Jenna and Allie. And Jenna and Allie put these gloves on, and I mean, these are kid boxing gloves. You know, they'll kind of blow up, right? They're real light kind of things. And these 2 girls they were country girls. You know, these were girls who used to throw in hay and kind of stuff. I mean, these were strong country-ish girls. And I said, all right, here we go, ding, 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 ding. And as soon as I said that, they went after each other like I have not seen in a long time. Gloves went off immediately. They were hitting each other. I'm trying to separate them, and I'm like, good, stop. And they're hitting each other. Listen, in our lives, we're in a fight. The kind of fight that we're in is not the kind of fight that you see, you know, a couple people throwing a little punch here and there. No, it is a knockdown, drag-out fight, and Satan would do nothing more than to just completely destroy you, destroy your family, destroy your church, destroy everything around you. He loves nothing more than to win his fight. That's what Satan's in the business of, is winning the fight. And he's going to do whatever it takes. He's not going to pull any punches. He's not going to come out with kid gloves on. He's going to come out swinging, and he's going to come out swinging hard. And some people will tell me that they go through satanic oppression. They think, well, you know, I think Satan himself is bothering me. I don't know that Satan's bothering you. I know that he has an army of demons that love to mess with people. I don't think that Satan himself is concerned with me. He's not omnipresent. He can't be everywhere at once. But I know he's got someone who's concerned about me. And he wants to destroy me, and I know he wants to destroy you. He wants to destroy your family, your wife. He wants to destroy your children. He wants anything he has. Satan desires to have you, that he can sift you as wheat and take those good things that are in your life and destroy them. And that's what he wants to do. And so sometimes we approach life, in this Christian life, we approach it with such a casual mediocrity about everything. You know, we're aggressive people by nature, particularly men. But really, everyone's pretty aggressive by nature to things that matter about them. You want to get a woman mad at you, mess with kids for a few minutes. I mean, the gloves come off, and it's time to go. You know, you got a kid. We approach life so aggressively. You got a dad who has a young boy, and maybe he's into a certain thing, like maybe he's into hunting, and his son gets into hunting. Well, all of a sudden, this 4-year-old kid's got camo, he's got boots, he's got a deer blind, he's got a 30-06. He's 4. That gun's gonna fly out the window. You know, They want them to be so involved in it. Why? Because it's something they're passionate about, and they see an interest in their child, and then they go crazy, right? They're like, man, I got to do this. There's this kid that I know that some people in here might even know who he is. His name's Shane. And Shane, his dad was into racing big time. And when his kid was real little, he realized that Shane had a gift of racing. You know, some people have, just tendencies. And he had the gift of racing. This kid could race. From the time he was 3, he would be racing go-karts, flying around the track. I'm like, my kid's almost 3. I don't know if I want to give him any. He's pretty good behind the wheel of his little Jeep thing that he has at grandma's house. But I don't know that I want him racing on a track. But, by the time this kid was 12, he was racing 4-cylinder and 6-cylinder stock cars. He had no fear whatsoever. No fear whatsoever. He would pass no matter when, no matter where. He had no fear. No brains, but no fear whatsoever. And when I started looking at his parent and how he was raising his kid, he raised him with such an aggressive passion for racing. Because he enjoyed racing, his son enjoyed racing, and he saw this as an opportunity to relate to his son or whatever, and so he's gonna push that, right? And that's what he's gonna push. We're aggressive about things like racing, and we're aggressive about things like football or fishing or hunting or anything else. You say, well, I'm not really an aggressive person. I'm more of a passive person. I'm more of a book reader kind of person. Oh yeah, sure. You have a kid who begins reading at a young age, and you watch how quickly you have lined up visits to every library in town. They get them a new series and all these encyclopedias. You get aggressive about just about anything. And we are aggressive people by nature all the way up until it becomes time for spiritual things. And then we take a very passive role. And unfortunately, men, as the leaders of the home, oftentimes we're the most passive about spiritual things. There's men littering churches all over Bradenton and Sarasota today who were dragged there by a woman. Who they sat there with their arms crossed the whole time going, when is this stupid thing getting out? Because they have a passive approach to Christian things. And their wives are having to take the aggressive role in trying to develop spirituality in their home. Sad, isn't it? It's sad that we have people who should be leading who aren't leading. We have passive preachers now. That they don't passionately pursue God. They don't passionately pursue the Word of God or the truth of God. Instead, they get up and they just kind of, well, what do you want to talk about today? What is it what are you feeling today? They don't want to get passionate about what God says in His Word or aggressive in their outreach or strategy of trying to convince and show the world the need of Jesus Christ. They don't get passionate about anything like that. No, instead they get passive about it. And as I begin to realize in watching mixed martial arts and watching boxing and all this, I'm not really into watching all those kind of fightings and things, but I've watched enough of them to know the way it works, right? I get the idea. If you're a passive person in the ring, you're going to get destroyed. Dancing around trying to avoid punches and kicks will only last for so long before they call it a stinger, before somebody pops you upside the jaw and you get that dazed look on your face, and then it's a matter of seconds, and they'll have you crying. You know, they'll have your arm behind your back, your leg crossed behind your ears, look like you're in a new yoga pose. You know, they'll go after you when they get that sense that you've been knocked off. But you see, in life, we try to take things passively concerning the Christian faith. I'm going to let Christianity happen around me, and I'll, by osmosis or whatever, I'll get a little bit of that spirituality rubbed on me. And as long as I get a little bit of that spirituality rubbed on me, I'll be all right. But I don't see in the Scriptures that maintaining anything of any value. I'm going to give you 2 examples, and 2 people you know. We're going to look at. We're not going to look entirely at the story. Let me give you a little bit of background first. The first person is King Saul. He is what I would describe as a passive Christian leader. What do I mean by that? He was placed into a position of authority by being anointed by Samuel to be king of Israel, right? So he's now in a place of authority. He's supposed to be in a theocracy, technically. He's supposed to be God ruling, him number 2, and then the people. He's supposed to be God's representative to the people, right? That's what he's supposed to be doing. Are you with me today? Yeah, you really look like you're asleep, okay? He's God's representative to the people. And he's supposed to be there to be the help and the blessing to this nation to bring them to God. Away from idols, away from the other the neighbors that are around them that are going to attack them and destroy them. He's supposed to build up walls of protection. He's supposed to develop that country into a country where God can have first place. That's his job as king. That's what he's supposed to be doing. But then comes along 1 Samuel chapter 15, and God tells him, I want you to go destroy the Amalekites. These are wicked people. They serve an ungodly God. They have false gods like you wouldn't believe. And they're going to try to destroy Israel. And they're going to succeed if you don't eradicate them. And I want them gone. I want every man, woman, and child, every horse, ox, and sheep. I want them gone from the face of the planet. You say, man, that seems like a really harsh command. Well, the truth of the matter is the Amalekites were the ones that were chasing Israel across the desert. And the Bible says that they would attack from the rear. Well, who in this caravan is in the rear? Those with small children, those who are elderly, those who are disabled. They would come and pillage and plunder them. By the time the men in the army from the front who were leading could get back to defend them, they would already be gone. And God says, I'll remember that. And now he's got a nation, Israel, with a standing army that's ready to do something about it. And he says, by the way, I remember what they did. It's time to make sure that they come to call for what they did to my people. He said, I want you to go destroy them. So Samuel, straps on his armor of war, and he's going to go on the fight about this thing that God told him to do. And he went and he attacked, but he didn't attack aggressively. Instead, he attacked passively. And doing this, he went and did what God said, but he brought back the sheep, he brought back the cattle, he brought back some of the finer things that they had, and he brought back the king and some of the other leaders. And then when Samuel confronts him, you remember, he puts his finger at his face, as every good prophet did, and says, Saul, what are you doing? God told you to destroy them. What's wrong with you? He goes, I did destroy them. They're all gone. He goes, well, then why do I hear lowing and mooing and all these things in the background? The bleating of sheep is what I hear, Samuel said. Why do I hear that? And oh, those sheep? Oh, those sheep. Yeah, we were bringing those back for a sacrifice. Liar. Liar. We're bringing the cows back for a sacrifice. Liar. What do you got the king for? Well, we were going to make him a servant so he would be a testimony to God. No, you wanted to bring him back to be a testimony to you and how great of a king you were. And so God told him, I'm no longer going to allow you to be king. I'm taking the kingdom from you and I'm putting it on another. Okay, then we come into 1 Samuel chapter number 16 where we're at. The Bible says this, the Lord said to Samuel, how long will you mourn for Saul, seeing I've rejected him from reigning over Israel? Fill thine horn with oil and go, and I will send thee to Jesse the Bethlehemite, for I have provided me a king from among his sons. Now, the horn, don't think horn. Think horn, like a ram's horn. Fills it with oil. The idea would be to get David to kneel in front of him. And Samuel would dump the oil upon his head, and that would have been a symbol of the anointing of God, that God had chosen him to be the next king. Samuel comes into the room. You get the idea. We're not going to read all these verses because we've got more to read today. He comes into the idea. He asks Jesse to bring out his sons, and Jesse starts bringing them in. And verse number 6, the Bible says, it came to pass when they were come, he looked on Eliab and said, surely this is the Lord's anointed before him. He looks at this guy and he goes, man, he's chiseled. He's tall, dark, and handsome. He's an impressive being. I sound like I'm describing myself, don't I? Anyway, no, that's terrible. No, I'm short, fat, and bald. Not what Eliab looked like. Think me, only the exact opposite. All right? And that's what we're looking at Eliab. He's a massive physical dude. Have you ever seen something like that? You know, one of those guys who just walked in the room and go like, whoa. I remember when I was in 5th grade, I was playing for a basketball team, and my coach was one of the stars, really, of LSU Tigers when he was in college. And so he had met this new guy that had just come in. He was a freshman, just playing ball over in Germany, and brought him in to come to his son's birthday party. And guy shows up, and he's 7'2". You might know him by the name Shaquille O'Neal. And it was his freshman year. It was the first year he played for LSU. And so I'm sitting at this 5th grade birthday party. We're playing basketball in the driveway, and all of a sudden this big car pulls up, and like Escalade kind of style, you know, big SUV or whatever. And this 7'2" dude comes stepping out of there. Now, he was a little skinnier back then. He definitely bulked up when he went into the pros and all that. He got bigger. But when a guy who's 7'2" gets out, and you're, 5'6", and you're whatever, a 5th grade or in school, you're just like looking up and going, good night. This is what Goliath looked like, And he's just a massive dude. And I'm sure that's what Samuel did. Samuel walks in and sees Eliab and goes, whoa, that would be a good king. That would be a good king. But here's the question. The Bible said Saul was head and shoulders taller than anyone else in the kingdom. So Eliab, massive dude, right? Big, strong guy, son of Jesse, Bethlehemite. Saul was head and shoulders taller than him, which means his height would have only gone up to the head and shoulders of Saul. Impressive physical physique was not exactly what made a man a good leader. But Samuel, when he comes in the room, that's the first thing he thinks. He goes, wow, that looks like a king. He looks like a king. Well, he didn't quite look as good at a king as Saul did. He didn't look the part like Saul did. But Saul took a passive approach to the obedience to God's word and to disciplining himself as God's servant. He took a passive approach to it. And that is not what God wanted. And so then we go down to the verse number 7 here. And the Bible says, but look not on the Lord said to Samuel, look not on his countenance or the height of his stature, because I've refused him. For the Lord seeth not as man seeth, for man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart. Remember this verse. Some people have used this verse to say, see, the outside doesn't matter, it's only the inside that matters. No, man does look on the outside appearance, and it is important that we make sure that we maintain ourselves on the outward as well. We need to look right, we need to dress right. Some people say, well, it doesn't matter if I, take showers and stuff like that. No, it does matter. Man looks on the outward appearance. That's what the verse says. You've got to catch that first part. But he says the most important thing is that you have the right heart. Well, what heart is that? Well, the heart that David had. Because you have Saul, and you had his passive approach to leadership, his passive approach to spirituality. He would come in when he needed it. He was in those oh man moments in life, you know what I'm talking about? Oh man moment in life. You ever have one of those? Where you're like, oh, I don't know what to do here. Oh man, I better go back to God. You know what I'm talking about when I say that? Saul would have those oh man moments. And he'd go and he'd find the witch of Endor, and he said to the witch of Endor, would you bring up Samuel so I can speak to God? You found a witch to bring back your favorite spiritual leader so you could talk to God. You lost it, man. What are you doing? But he came into an oh man moment of life, and he just turned to whatever he could think of spiritually speaking. He's that guy who says, you know what, when he gets in trouble, I'm going to go to church today. Why? Because I got in trouble yesterday. I have a young man that I've been working with for years and years and years. He has no father in his life. From the time he was about 13 or 14 is when I started working with him. And he'd come to church when he did something stupid. He'd get caught drinking at the age of 14, 15. His parents would catch him. His mom would catch him. And he'd be in church that Sunday. He'd be there for 2 weeks, and then he'd disappear. He'd go out, and he'd get in trouble. He had some trouble with the law. One of the first places I met him was in juvenile justice. And he had some trouble with the law and those kinds of things. Whenever he'd get in trouble with the law, he'd be in church for 2 or 3 weeks. He had an old man Christianity, It was like one of those, I believe there's a God, and whenever I get in trouble, whenever I have a problem, then I'm going to show up in church. And I'm not going to really show up there until I have my old man moments. And Saul kind of lived his life like that too. Passive Christianity. Instead of aggressively pursuing God, he passively allowed whatever else to go on around him and would just say, you know what, as long as I'm good, it's all right. No, David had a heart after God. Turn with me, if you would, to Psalm 63. Psalm 63. I want to look at this for a minute. Psalm 63. The verse number 8 is the one that I'm going to use as my text. I'm going to read that first, then we'll look at a couple more in here. It says, my soul followeth hard after thee, thy right hand upholdeth me. My soul followeth hard after thee. Now, David's a military man. He understands what this is about. But when the battle has gone on and the battle has been decided, you would have troops that would retreat. The majority of the fight has already been accomplished, right? But you have these troops that would escape and would go running into the hills, who would later regroup and reform and attack again. And you would have guys in your division, in your army, who were specifically purposed for chasing down those that were in retreat. You might remember one of their names, Asahel. He was the guy who chased down Abner. And the Bible says that Asahel was fast of foot, or fleet of foot. He could run like the wind. And he would chase. His job was a chaser. He would chase people down who were retreating in the battle, and he was supposed to take them out. And so you got to picture this guy running through the woods, jumping over trees, dodging fences. If you've ever watched Robin Hood, there's a song that goes along with it, the cartoon version. Jumping fences, dodging trees, trying to get away. Anyway, he's that guy running. Yeah, I watched too many cartoons. I got a small kid to deal with it. He's running, he's chasing, and people throwing arrows and throwing javelins, shooting arrows at him. He's ducking and dodging, going. He's chasing Abner. Abner's yelling, "Stop chasing me!" And he's like, "No, I'm not going to stop chasing you." And he goes, "No, stop chasing me." And he said, "No." He goes, "You stop chasing me or I'm going to kill you." And he goes, "No, no, no." And Abner stopped, remember, and the spear was, the blunt end of the spear went through the fifth rib of Asahel, and it killed him. He was following so hard and running so hard that Abner just goes, and then Asahel literally impaled himself with a spear from the blunt end, how hard he was pursuing him. That's what that means. He says, "My soul followeth hard after thee. I was in a diligent pursuit of you." I was chasing you like Asahel chased Abner. Like it was the last hope of earth if I could get you. If I could just get Abner. That's what Asahel's thinking. If I could kill Abner, their army will fall apart. Everything will be gone. We won't have to deal with these people anymore. This victory will be complete. It'll be finished. And Asahel's thinking, I don't care what happens. I'm going right through the middle. You know, I'm not hiding out in buildings. Emily missed my joke there. I'm not hiding out. She got it there. I'm not hiding out in buildings. That's for Thursday night. I'm not hiding out in buildings. I'm diligently pursuing and chasing. Because if I can do this, then this will be secure victory for our side. David said, "My soul follows hard after you, Yah. I am that diligent and aggressive and passionate in my pursuit of you." Look at some of these other verses, if you would, in verse number 1. "O God, thou art my God." What a great speech of possession that he says there. It's not my father's God. It's not my grandfather's God. It's my God. God, you are my God. This is personal to me. He says, "Early will I seek you." You are my first thing I think about when I get up in the morning. I don't think about where's my cup of coffee. I think, where's my God? Where's my God? I need to have God today. I need Him to be right beside me. Early will I seek Thee. Early in my life, by the way. I'm not going to wait until I'm older to serve God. Early in my life, early in my day, I'm going to seek God. Why? Because this becomes priority one with me. This is important to me. He says, "Early will I seek Thee. My flesh longs for Thee like a dry and thirsty land where no water is." It's like the deer who longs for water. It's like the guy in the middle of the desert who got lost and broke down, has nothing to drink, and he comes walking up to a great big gas station, and he buys a 2-liter of soda, and he's just like chugging the thing, you know? He goes, "I'm thirsting for you, God. I've got to have this. I need to have you in my life." Do you feel the passion that's in his voice here? I forgot to tell you what he's going on in his life right now. What he's going on in his life now, from what we can understand from the text of the verse, and from that opening line underneath there was a Psalm 63, a Psalm of David when he was in the wilderness of Judah. When you piece together some of the verses in this passage and you piece together that line, what had happened is this is right after Absalom had taken over his kingdom. And he had run into the wilderness of Judah before heading over into Gilead across the other side of Jordan. And he says, you know what it's like? He was probably standing on the cliffs. You've probably seen where they found the Dead Sea Scrolls. He was probably standing on one of those cliffs like that, overlooking Jerusalem, overlooking the area where he had just retreated from. And he's thinking about this, and he decides to write a song. And his song is, "God, you are my God. Early will I seek you. I need you. My soul's going to follow hard after you." He is in a time of spiritual aggression. Not aggression towards his son, towards political enemies, towards things that are going on in his kingdom, towards his job or his work. Man, we can get aggressive about work, can't we? You know, a guy wants to get promoted. He'll cut throats to get promoted. You know, he'll do whatever he's got to do to get to the top of the ladder. He'll kill all or steal. Doesn't matter what he does to get to the top of that. But when it comes to spiritual things, that same guy, though a Christian, will be passive in his approach to everything and just say, "Well, as long as I'm in church, it's all good." You know? And he won't have that same attitude he had towards his job or towards a woman. You know, you got a guy who's interested in a girl, he won't leave her alone. I realized that the other day. I looked through my box of my wife, and I kept all the notes from when we were dating. And there's like, she's gonna say I'm lying, but there was like 10% that were for me, and there's like 90% of them were me having written to her. And I mean, they're sappy. Good night. I was embarrassed reading these things. There's poems and pictures and nonsense is everywhere. I'm like, holy cow, who is this guy? You know, what a sap, what an idiot. You know, and I'm looking at it going, this is, I didn't want to write this. I don't know who this is. But I was pursuing a woman, and you can see how you can get aggressive and passionate about that pursuit, or the pursuit of a job, or the pursuit of a, you know, those things make sense to you to be passionate and aggressive about. But when it comes to spiritual things, it's just like, as long as by, you know, just principles of just being here, it'll be all right. No, I'm going to get passionate about pursuing God. You get me? You understand where I'm coming from? Good. Because you look like you're confused out of your minds. The truth of the matter is we need to be aggressive in our spirituality. In our home, it's going to be done on purpose. If your home's going to be a Christ-centered home, it's because you did it on purpose. If your marriage is going to be a Christ-centered marriage, it's because you did it on purpose. If your kids are going to know about Jesus Christ, it's because you did it on purpose. It ain't just going to happen, folks. It's got to be done because we wanted to do it. And we made a plan and we executed it and we were aggressive about doing it. It's worth fighting for. It's worth fighting for. He says, you know what? Oh God, you are my God. To see your power and your glory, so have I seen in your sanctuary. You know what he's sitting there saying? He's running away from Absalom. His city's falling down. Everything in his life is in ruins. He's standing there on the top of the hill. He's looking down where his son has stolen the kingdom from him. And he says, you know what? I just want to see you move again, God. Like you did in the sanctuary, when I brought back the Ark of the Covenant, and I stripped my kingly garments off, and I danced before the Lord with all my might, and I came and we brought the Ark of God into the city, and for the first time, we have real joy in Jerusalem. You know what I'm talking about? Where the people were singing, and the people were cheering, and people were excited about what God was going to do. And they had that back, you know? They were thrilled about being in the tabernacle of God, with the Ark of God. God's presence was there with them in the city again. And they're like, God, that's what I want. David's like, that's what I want. God said, you know what I need is a man with that kind of heart. Who's got a passion and a fire for pursuing me. Not passion and fire for pursuing his own interests and becoming king and developing armies and building castles and palaces and having all the things of this life. Forget that nonsense. I want someone who's going to pursue me. He goes, that's what's going to make a difference in this kingdom. He says, to see your power and your glory as I've seen in your sanctuary, because thy loving kindness is better than life. I would rather be loved by God. If I'm not going to be loved by God, I'd rather be dead. Put it that way. If God doesn't going to give me his love, then just go ahead and take me out. It's just not worth it. He says, thus will I bless thee while I live. I will lift up mine hands in thy name. You know what he says? He says, you know what, God? I am not coming to you with my bow or my sword. I am not coming to you with the weapons that I'm familiar with, not even my sling and my rock. I am taking both hands and I am giving them over to you. What is this? The international sign of surrender. This is, God, I don't have anything left. I'm not going to fight my own battles. I'm not going to do it my way. I'm lifting my hands up. I'm giving up completely to you, God. I'm surrendering to however you want to do this. I'm going to pursue you. He says, my soul shall be satisfied with marrow and fatness. My mouth shall praise thee with joyful lips. He goes, this celebration that we're going to have when I see you work, we ain't going to be eating salads. This is a prime rib meal. You know, this is filet mignon that I'm looking at. You're like, I like being a vegetarian. Whatever, congratulations. But he's saying, I'm talking about, you're going to be eating the good things in life, not the things you eat to stay healthy. I'm talking about, this is cake and cupcakes, and, you know, we're going to have the good life. Why? Because I'm going to pursue after you with a passion, and I'm going to find you. And when I do, I'm going to feast like I did in the tabernacle. I'm going to have a feast. I don't think he meant literally, by the way. I think he was going to say, finally my soul will be satisfied. Because the only thing in the spiritual life that will satisfy you is the pursuit of God. Tozer wrote a great book on the pursuit of God. What tremendous truth there is in that. If you want to find satisfaction in this life, there is only one thing that will satisfy your soul, and that is to pursue Christ. The pursuit of Christ will bring satisfaction. Everything else will leave you empty. He said this, when I remember thee upon my bed and meditate on thee in the night watches. I love that he says this verse, because this verse and verse number 1, put them together. You go, early will I seek you, and in the night watches I'll remember you when I'm in my bed. You're the first thing I think about in the morning. You're the last thing I think about at night. There's a bunch of Hebrew poetic terms and stuff for this, the way they're doing that. But at the end of the day, I think it's just great to see the way he's framing this song, isn't it? To say, early will I seek you. At the end of the day, on the night watches, when my eyes can't sleep, I'll remember you. You'll be on my mind all day long. It sounds like that cheesy pickup line that, you must be tired, girl. You've been running through my mind all day long, But that's what he's saying. He's saying, you've been in my mind all day long. Oh, yeah, that's good. And that's how I got faith, Young guys want to know how to win a girl. I'll tell you, I'll give you some poems. You can just put your name on them. Anyway, he is saying, I'm thinking about you early in the morning. You're going to be my mealtime. You're going to be my nighttime. You're going to be everything in me. You're going to be my path, not my passive, my active pursuit in my life. I'm going to chase you because it's worth fighting for. Thou hast been my help. Therefore, in the shadow of thy wings will I with joy. You know what, I wrote down 4 things, I'm not going to get to them, but I wrote down, it creates new desires, it creates new passions, I wrote down this one, a safe haven. You know what he says here? In the shadow of your wings. What a great place to reside, isn't it? In the shadow of his wings. Because when life gets rough, I have that foundation we talked about a few weeks ago, but I'm in the shadow and protection of his wings. It's like being in the middle of a hailstorm and being inside of one of the most secure buildings in the world. He's like, you're in the shadow of my wings. There is peace and protection there. You say, what is the significance of that? Remember where he's at in his life when he wrote that. He's running from his son who would rather see him dead and the kingdom passed into his hands. That's where he's at. And he says, God, if I could just dwell in the shadow of your wings, that's where I want to be. I don't care if there's a storm around it. I don't care how the hail is pelting the wings. As long as I'm under the wing of God, I'll be all right. God, I just want to be next to you again. I want to be under the wing, next to the heart of God. My soul followeth hard after thee. Thy right hand upholdeth me. But those that seek my soul to destroy it shall go into the lower parts of the earth. That's one of the things I was thinking about with this passage. These 2 verses really are what brought about this Worth the Fight message series in my mind. The ones who are trying to destroy me, they'll go to hell and back. That's what that verse means, to destroy me. They'll go to the lowest parts of the earth to destroy me. The ones who want to come after me, they'll come after me no matter how low they got to go. They're coming after me with a fierceness and with a virility that we've never seen before. That's the way they're coming after me, God. And so since they're coming after me like that, and the fight that I'm in is a fight like that, then I'm going to do the only thing I know how to do. I'm going to train myself in the pursuit of God. Because if I will just get into the shadow boxing, if you will, of God, if I will start training myself the way God would have me to train, and I'll start pursuing you like I would like to be pursued, then when the fight comes and the attack comes, I'll be prepared for it because I have been pursuing you, and your strength is made perfect in weakness. You will see through me what I cannot do for myself. Good truth. They'll go to the lower parts of the earth. They shall fall by the sword. They shall be a portion of the foxes. For the foxes, I will choose victory. When I first asked for this, this design was made by Sarah Reeves. The screen and the little cards and everything that we passed out with us. Sarah Reeves made that for us. She did a good job. When I first asked about her to do this, I said I wanted to have a fight-looking theme to it. And I didn't really think about the fact that I asked a girl to design something with a fight theme. Because she asked me like 2 weeks later, what does that even mean? I'm like, boxing, UFC, something, come on, you know what fighting is, right? That kind of thing. And she came back with, this is what she came back with. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, I was sitting there going, that doesn't even remotely look like fighting. What is it? I mean, it looks like Rocky, maybe at the end. You're going to climb the steps and he cheers, whatever. Some of you are like, Rocky, what is that? Great boxing, classic stuff. Anyway, it kind of looked like that to me, but I was sitting there thinking about it, and I was thinking about this verse, they shall fall with the sword, they shall be a portion of foxes, I'll achieve victory. Victory. And when I read that verse, I looked at the picture, I thought, you know what, that might work. That might be a good picture for that. Why? Because that's the way I would feel if my enemies had fallen by the sword and I'm watching over the hill on the battlefield and foxes are consuming them. I'll be like, the victory's mine! I feel like throwing the sword in one of those epic movies, where the massive battle scenes. It's over. Why? The victory's been won. It was worth the fight. We won. David said that's what it's going to be like when I pursue you. I don't know about you, but have there been times in your life when you've pursued God? I mean, passionately pursued God. Remember that feeling? was like right there, next to you. You're under the shadow of his wings. And you felt like you could charge hell with a water gun. Take a few water balloons on the way. That's what he said I want to feel. Again, I want to remember it like when I was in the sanctuary of God. Like when I was with you. Last verse, but the king shall rejoice in God. Everyone that sweareth by him shall glory by the mouth of him that shall speak lies shall he stop. God, you will put to silence those who come against me. Why? Because you are the one who's in control. I want to passionately pursue God. All right, you got two choices. You can take the passive approach of King Saul, come in as a good guy, and just kind of hope things go well in your life, and where do you end up? Completely away from him. Then Eliab steps in, and Eliab's standing there, and he's strong and buff, and Abinadab, the next brother down, is just as strong and just as good looking, and God's looked at him and said, no, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for just another person. I'm not looking for another male. I'm not looking for a female. I'm looking for a man or woman of God that will passionately pursue me. Because that will create new passions, new desires, a safe haven, a new purpose that will be totally different than anything Saul had ever tried. And under David, they had the greatest growth and prosperity time, really, leading into King Solomon, where things really expanded. But the greatest king of Israel that ever lived was King David. And I don't think it was because of his ruddy good looks or his reddish boy hair, I think it was because he had a heart that passionately pursued God. Sure, he made mistakes. Oh, good night, he made mistakes. But he passionately pursued God. May we not be people that passively sit by and let God happen to us, but instead passionately pursue him and desire him. Have every head bowed, please, everyone, eye closed.